and welcome to my next video speaking about my health journey, and I've called it progress, not perfection, because that's all we can strive for. Today I'm going to be talking about the darker side of my cancer diagnosis, the things that have made it difficult to stay positive in so many ways. I'm only speaking for myself in this video. Different personalities will experience the same thing in different ways. And so as you're listening, just if you can relate to anything, you don't have to identify with everything I'm saying, but there might be something that'll spark a thought or make you feel a bit more comfortable and not so alone. So I hope it does that for you. First thing I want to do is just read off a list. When I first heard the diagnosis and it was a blood cancer, I went and looked at things to look out for if you feel there's something wrong with you and it could be a blood cancer kind of idea. And it's taken from bloodcancer.org UK. So it's Understanding Blood Cancer. And it's a list of blood cancer symptoms to just do it like almost a checklist, if you like. So I just want to read them. There's 11 of them. Weight loss that is unexplained. Bruising or bleeding that is unexplained. Lumps or swellings. Shortness of breath. Drenching night sweats, infections that are persistent, recurrent or severe, fever of 38 or above that is unexplained, a rash or itchy skin that is unexplained, pain in the bones, joints or abdomen, tiredness that doesn't improve with rest or sleep, and then paleness, skin color. So the ones that I could definitely identify with straight away was weight loss that is unexplained, pain in my bones, and then tiredness that doesn't improve. There's always that sense of tiredness. The others, we've just had a hot summer here in Durban, so night sweats have been on the very hot nights, so I don't count that because it's related to something else. And the other one is paleness. In winter, I get very pale, but in summer, I then get the tan from summer. So, but you get the point. So with it just being 3, it was, for me, it was like, okay, it's doable. It's not as if I'm on death's door kind of thing. But at the same time, there are some things that just keep plaguing. And the first one was the disbelief at the diagnosis. It was a orthopedic surgeon who told me that I had multiple myeloma. And it was like, no, that can't be right. But when he removed the tumor, etc., let it go away for analysis, it came back, it was a tumor caused by the bone marrow and the blood called lymphus, whatever. Anyway, so but that feeling of that can't be possible. I'm feeling fine. It's just suddenly my bones are breaking. What's going on? But I'm feeling fine. So there was that disbelief, that disconnect, and that feeling of, this is going to change the rest of my life. It's such a weird feeling. And then the second one was fear while waiting for the hematologist. The surgeon had given me an oncologist number where I made the appointment. And then when she heard it was a blood disorder, she said, no, I have to go to a hematologist. And then the wait, I had to, first of all, recover from the op and then when he could fit me in. And fear is such a strong emotion. It's incredible how that fight or flight comes in so easily. And I'm one of those people who freeze, so thank God I've got a friend who just said, okay, come on, what we're going to do next? We're going to study what we can. We'll learn what we know, let's just not stand still. So she was so helpful at that time, because honestly, I was just paralyzed. And then the anger at the blinkered attitude of the doctors. Let's just call them the doctors. Because when I said, that, okay, you're saying I need a bone marrow test, but I'm telling you, I don't want that just yet. Just give me a chance to just catch up, to catch my breath and just catch up. And he said, if you don't do what I do, then I can't look after you. What's it, not look after you? Sorry, my bra strap showing. There you go. But if you're not going to do what I say, then I can't treat you. And that was, I felt anger at that. It was a case of, gosh, shouldn't doctors and that still be partners with the person who's got the illness? Not suddenly treat the person with the illness as if they've got no brain, as if they are suddenly children or toddlers. The anger was probably over the top, but it felt at that time as if this is my life, God, just give us a break here. Anyway, but it is what it is, everyone's different. And the next one was being given a time frame for my life expectancy. Yeah, I've heard other people who've got a incurable disease talk about this life expectancy stuff. And I always at the time thought, that is so crazy that suddenly these guys can give such a definite time frame. And then understanding that the time frame comes because giving the medication they're giving, that is the time frame that they've been able to work with. So that, of course, gave me the thought of, wow, then what is the life expectancy if we do things differently? And that was it. I was confused. I was irritated, absolutely irritated. And the one, I think I've told this in another video, but it's worth repeating here. The one hematologist, the second one I went to, I said, okay, listen, you've got to give me time frames here, because if you're saying that I need a chemo and a bone marrow transplant, and then probably in about 3-4 years, I'll probably need another one. What are we talking about? So he says, oh no, we've made very good strides with multiple myeloma, and now you have a life expectancy of 7 to 10 years, and you should be grateful for that. I thought, my God, I come from a family where my great-grandmother died when she was 88. My grandmother died when she was 93. My mother is 93 and still alive, still compos mentis. So the thought of being told that I'm going to die when I'm in my 60s was like, how can you say that? How can you know for sure that that's what's going to happen? And so when I said to him, well, if I don't take the chemo, if I don't follow your instructions, what kind of life expectancy do you give me then? And he said, well, 2 years. When I got to him, I'd already been diagnosed for a whole 1.5 years. And my back had broken the year before that. So I went to him when I was already 2.5 years into my disease, if you like, or where the disease had now caught up with my body. And I laughed at him. He was so angry with me. The people who'd gone to support me were also angry with me. They're like, how dare I laugh? This is a serious... I could not take it seriously. I couldn't. It's like, if you've got such a narrow view of things, I actually don't want to be treated by you. I don't want you to be my healing partner. You've got the knowledge, but you've also got a blinkered attitude with the knowledge. And so, yeah, it was, all it did was make me more stubborn and mistrustful of the doctors. And it's not fair. It's not fair to do that, because look, everyone goes into their profession wanting to have an outcome and a positive outcome. I understand that. But suddenly when it was my life, and yeah, it is selfish, but it's the way it is. It's the way of the world. It became a different story. And believe me, I know some beautiful doctors. I have a wonderful GP. I have an oncologist who is far more understanding that it is still my journey. They are wonderful people, professional, out on the field who understand that it's more than just treating a disease. You're treating a person. So that's why I'm saying, please, this is my experience and how it made me feel. That's all I can share with you. And the next one, and I would say probably the darkest, is the strength of my mind to see the negative. And I'm having to fight myself all the time to balance that out and to see more of that everything, every opposite, every negative has an opposite positive, and every positive has an opposite negative. That's the truth of life, but it's one that I struggle with. I'm such a drama queen. So, okay, it's so my whole diagnosis, I've really tried to stay positive and see the good. But at the same time, I've slowly but surely becoming more and more depressed. And that is because every time I get a sore bone, it's like, is this it? Is it another break? Every time my blood numbers go up, even if it's by 1 point, it's like, oh God, I'm getting worse. I know I'm using the word God a lot, but I honestly do really mean God, okay? My HP and I, we talk quite a lot. So I'm not blasphemy, I promise you, for those who are feeling uncomfortable. See it more as just my conversation with my higher power. But there's what happened with this diagnosis is, and as the days went, I started losing hope for future. I started not being able to see a positive outcome in anything, and it also stopped me from being creative. I struggle now to be creative, and my business is creativity. I've always been exploring and testing new things and trying out new ways of doing things. And it's not there. It's just like, what's the use? And it's a terrible thing to say. And I'm going to tell you what is the best antidote for that, for me, is about a year after that, my daughter had a baby, and I couldn't see him. They live in a different country, but seeing that life carries on, no matter what happens to me, no matter what happens to those around me, life has a way of carrying on. And that was a huge joy. And then a year and a half after that, trying to think now, no, 2 years after that, my other daughter had a baby. And this one I've been able to see in person and hold him and give him a kiss. And there's something just so joy-filled about seeing the next generation. So that's kind of like the opposite of the negative of not seeing a way forward. I might have lost my creativity, but creation carries on. Creativity carries on. But it does remind me of a story that I learned during my Reiki energy healing training. And I've adapted it to be more South African because it was for a different country. And it's a grandson who goes to his grandfather and says to his grandfather, what is the most important lesson you've had to learn in your life? What is the most important lesson you want to pass on to me? And the grandfather looks at him and says he's got a story to tell him. And he says, once there were 2 lions. And the one lion, no, not once, inside each of us, there are 2 lions. The one lion is good and represents everything that is good. The good lion is filled with love, joy, courage, inspiration, creativity, and compassion. And the other lion is bad. And this lion is filled with hate, envy, greed, dishonesty, and anger. And every day when we wake up, we are the ones who have a choice of which of those lions we are going to listen to for that day. And it's a choice we have to make every day. And that little story for me is so powerful. And it's what I try and remember is what line is showing up for me today. And how can I choose for it to be the lion that is more loving and honest and caring. The next feeling of darkness that came for me was the people, the professionals, not telling me the side effects of chemotherapy and bone marrow transplant. They were very quick to tell me the side effects of not doing anything. But I had to go and look up the other 2 myself. And it wasn't Dr. Google. You know, there are some amazing websites. There are a lot of medical websites. There's one is Mayo Clinic. The other one is the one in UK. I think it's Birmingham. Rochester, oh, that could be America as well. And then the other one is the Cancer Research of the UK. So it's looking really at the research behind the medication, right? And the chemo weakens bones and kills bone marrow, and it annihilates your immune system. And the 2 things that I am most affected by are my bones and my immune system. So it was like, come on, I don't want to do that to myself. My bones are already breaking. Now, if I take chemo, what? I'm just going to be a lump on the floor. I'm just going to crumble. No, you know. Sometimes if it doesn't make sense to me, I won't do it. You actually have to convince me. And they don't want to. They just say, you have to do it. Yeah, so it does that, but, you know, it could have this effect. The outcome is a 3% outcome for me, right? 3%. 3%, 97%. I think I'd rather get 97% than 3% for a test, wouldn't you? Just my thought. See what I mean about it being so dark? It brings such, you know. So, I've always been happy to compromise though. I do the blood tests. I want to know what my bloods are doing. You know, I can't just be an ostrich, put my head in the sand and say, that's it. If I don't know, it's not happening. I can't do that. By knowing, I can think of a way forward. I can think of something to put in its place. That makes sense to me. All right. So it's trying to like hit the happy ground between total disregard of anything to do with the medical world and total disregard of anything to do with the etheric and natural world. For me, the two can be symbiotic. We need it to be. We need to learn. You know, our ancestors, they did the herbs and it worked well. But there were so many gaps which the medicine field filled in. We need to still remain in charge, though. The medical field can't be in charge of us. We still have to know. We have to know how our bodies function so that when they go wrong, we can go, okay, all right, I get it, I hear it. What can I do about it? But I do want to say, okay, so blood tests I also do the biphosphonate, and I went into that with my eyes wide open. I asked for the side effects, and then I had to look at the side effects by comparison to the pros, you know, how it's going to help, and the pros won out, and it definitely has won out, you know, because I haven't had a bone break. Not that I'm aware of, and not to the degree as before, let's just put it that way. But the MRI in September said it was still as before, since starting. But I do know the side effects of what it could do to me, and I'm happy to accept that. But that fear that does come with that, you know, not doing as the doctor says, which we've been told we have to do always. I found that the guided meditations I do every morning and speaking with my spiritual director, that is what has given me more of a balance there. I'm able to have at least one place where I can tell all my insecurities to another human being who listens and just knows that I just need to talk about it. And the final one that's come up is that fear of being told if I don't do as the doctors say, I will die of blood clots or failed kidneys. Now, you know, my husband's kidneys failed, and we don't know what disease he had, but it wasn't a nice way to go. You know, the pain he felt was not nice. So failed kidneys, it does. It's kind of like a little fear that prickles here. And blood clots, I had a friend in her late 30s, early 40s. She was at the gym, walking on the walker, and she had an aneurysm, a brain aneurysm, and died right there on the walker, on the, you know, what do you call it, the walking machine. That was it. So I know the reality of that side as well. So there are two big fears. But at the same time, the blood tests and the supplements are dealing with that, are keeping it in check. And I'm able to see constantly where my body is, how my kidneys are coping, and so on. So that's why I say for me, it works to know what's going on inside my body. The fearmongering for me that was attached to my diagnosis was the most destructive. And the very first thing I heard was, you know, this is incurable. There is no cure. It's like, wow, thank you. There's no cure for diabetes either. There's no cure for a heart that's failing. There's no cure for glaucoma. You know, gosh, just because it's got the word cancer. And I mean, how many cancers are there? What a broad term. Oh, anyway, no, I'm getting sarcastic now. I apologize. But we're talking about the darkness, so I'm just being real here. This is the darkness that comes all the time to this brain of mine. You know, not to take that I'm a Libran, so I'm the scale, so it's everything's good, everything's bad, everything's good, everything's bad. Oh, it's pathetic. Anyway, but thank you for listening to this diatribe. And if it has been helpful, or you know someone who could maybe benefit from just hearing the realities, please share the video. And then if you have got this far and listened to the end, please do me a solid and click the like button. That's really to make me know that you've actually watched it. And and not tapped out after 2 minutes. And then if you get to this part of the video, then please, and you haven't subscribed, please do me a solid as well. Subscribe and click the notification bell to be notified of upcoming videos. And so thank you for being here, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.